Hello friends, I hope all of you are doing great and you're having fun learning Python programming. You might have realized at this point that Python programming is extremely easy to learn. So anyone can code. It's not a rocket science at all. In today's tutorial, we are going to see how you can process command line arguments using argparse module. Now, processing command line arguments in any programming language is considered very basic thing. So you need to have a knowledge on how to process command lines. Okay, so let's start the tutorial. I'm going to import the argparse module, and here I'm going to say parser is equal to argparse dot argument parser, and args equal to parser dot parse args. Now if you run this program, so I'm going to just save this, and I'm in the same directory where this Python file resides. And if I run this program, Python, and by the way, this is how you run your Python program. You will say Python space the name of your .py file, which is your Python file. When you run this, nothing happens because the program has nothing. It is just initializing the parser and it is trying to parse the arguments. Now by default you get -h argument. -h means help. So when you do this, this thing is coming from argparse module from here. So by default you get this h command, and it is saying that you're having optional argument for help. Now let's pass some real arguments. There are two kind of arguments that argparse supports: positional argument and optional arguments. We're going to first look at positional arguments. So what you do here is you have initialized the object of this parser class, argument parser class, and using this parser class you're going to add an argument. Now what argument is this API is going to do is it's gonna add that argument to your program when you run it using a command line. Okay, so this is how you do it. So you will say add argument. First parameter is the name of the argument and the second parameter is the help. So this is like first number, and the program that we are writing is basically you want to have a program that takes two numbers as an input and an operation. So the operation could be either addition, subtraction, or multiplication. You need to give two numbers and the type of operation that you want to perform, and the program should return the result based on your inputs. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So we are having first number, we are having second number. So first number, second number, number two, and then we will have parser dot add argument for operation. So this is the type of operation that you want to supply. Okay, now once this is how you add arguments to your parser, and once you pass the arguments you get this object back which has the value of arguments which user has passed using command line. So now you can actually access args.number1. So I'm going to just print args.number1, and then I will print args.number2, and then I will print args.operation. Okay, let's see what happens when we run this program. So here let me open this on the side. Okay, all right. So here when I run this program, you see in the help, now it is showing me this nice help on how a user can run this program. Okay, so number one, number two on operation. So it is just showing me the format in which I should run this argparse tutorial.py file. Okay, so now I know that I have to pass number one, number two, and operation. So what I'll do is now I will actually execute this program. So my number one is, let's say, 4, my number two is, let's say, 5, and my operation is, let's say, add. When I do that, you see that this 4 went into args.number1, 5 went into number 2, and operation is in here. That's what it printed. Okay, now we are going to actually perform the operation. So I will say if args.operation is equal to add, Then now before we do that, remember that whenever you pass an input using command line, it always comes back to program as a string. So you need to convert it into integer. So integer is basically number. So arch.number1 is a string. So whatever 4 you are passing here will be a string, and I'm converting it to a number. Okay, and same thing for our second number. And here I'm going to initialize a result object to none. Now if the operation is add, obviously you will use plus operator to perform your operation, and if operation is equal to subtract, then you will do n1 minus n2, and if operation is multiply, then you will do n1 into n2, and in the end you're printing a result. Okay, so I think it's pretty straightforward here. You are checking what type of operation user has requested, and based on that you are performing the operation and printing the result. So now let's run the program. Nice. So you see, like 4 and 5 are input, add is your operation, and 9 is your result. You can make it more clear by just saying result is a result, so it will be a little bit more clear. Okay, you can also say subtract, and the result is -1. You can also try multiply. So the benefit of using command line argument is that using these arguments, program can process any kind of input. Now let's see what if you don't supply all the arguments. Let's say I'm supplying number 1 and number 2, but I'm not supplying operation. When you do that, it will show you this error. So you must supply all the 3 arguments. So whenever you're using positional arguments, they are mandatory. You cannot skip it. So what if I want to skip some arguments and I want to get some more clarity even on the arguments, like how to pass the arguments? In order to do that, you have to use optional argument. Now the way you pass optional argument is this. You will here, instead of just typing in a number, you will say minus number. Okay, minus operate number 2. That's it. Once you do this, it will make all of these 3 the optional arguments. So let's see what happens now. So here, before I do anything, let me add one more statement. If let's say user doesn't supply add, subtract, or multiply, and let's say he supplies something else, you want to print unsupported operation, right? Cool. Now we just converted these to optional argument by putting 2 hyphens here, and let's see what happens now if you don't supply third argument. So I have first, second, and third. When you do that, first of all, look at the usage. In the usage, it is saying that this is how you should pass your arguments. Okay, so the correct way now for passing the arguments will be this: minus number 1, minus number 2, minus operation equal operation add. Using optional arguments, one benefit you get is you get a clarity on which argument you're passing, right? So here it's sort of like key value pair. So this is your key, this is your value, this is your key, this is your value, and these are now not fixed arguments. You can change their order. For example, I can pass number 2 towards the end and it will still work. So if I say number 2 is 5, it still works. So it doesn't have any fixed position now. That's one benefit. Second benefit is, of course, you have a key. So if someone is running your program, you know what you're passing. For example, here in the positional argument, I just pass 4 and 5, but I don't really know what is 4 and what is 5, versus here I know 4 will be treated as number 1, 5 will be treated as number 2, and add is actually an operation. Okay. All right, now let's look at the help, how the help looks. So when you say -h, it shows this help, and these are all optional arguments. Previously when we printed help, they were positional arguments. So with optional argument, now first let me clear this. With optional argument, you can actually skip your arguments. So if you skip, let's say, operation, I'm supplying only number 1 and number 2. I'm not supplying operation. It will still work. So argparse module will not stop you, but it will eventually come here. It will check for the operation, and operation is none actually. You see none here. So that's why it is going into this tray. What if you like the format, this format of passing arguments, and you still want to restrict user to certain kind of operation? In our program, we only support add, subtract, and multiplication, 3 operations. So I want to now restrict user from not entering any values other than add, subtract, and multiply. Right now, he can enter any values that he likes. For example, he can say minus operation is equal to division. Now we don't support division, so I made a mistake. So okay, so here it says unsupported operation, which is fine, but we are handling that in our code. What if you want to restrict user from here itself? You don't want to go through the code, because now here I have to handle that condition, right? So if I, let's say, don't handle this condition, for example, then it's gonna print result none, and I will have no idea why result is none. I asked the program to do division, right? So argparse module have a facility to restrict the choices of command line input, and the way you do it is by typing comma, and here you will specify your choices. So I'm going to specify my choices, and my choices is gonna be add, subtract, and multiply. Okay, so now for my third argument, which is operation, user can only enter these 3. If he doesn't enter these 3, it will just fail right here. Okay, it won't go beyond this point. So let's see. Okay, now again I'm supplying division, and when I hit enter, see here right at the time of parsing it failed. It says invalid choice, division. Choose from add, subtract, or multiply. So this is what you should use whenever you want to restrict user from and not entering any specific argument. Okay, now until now we are running the program from this Windows command prompt. What if you want to run program from here, from pycharm? In pycharm, when you execute a program, you can actually specify the arguments. So for that, click on run, go to edit configuration. Here it is saying I'm executing this py file, and here I can specify my arguments. So here I can say number 1 is 10, number 2 is, let's say, 5, and operation is add. Okay, when I do that and when I run the program, it works. See, it took 10 and 5 as an input, add with the operation, and the result is 15. So this is how you pass the argument, just in case if you want to, let's say, debug the program. So for example, I'll just quickly show you how to debug this. So here, yeah, just put in a breakpoint. As usual, click on this bug icon and it will start debugging. And once you have that, you see like args namespace is this, and when you go to next statement, and if you look at your args parameter, here you see number 1 is 10, 5, and operation, and you see like number 10 is actually integer type, and that's the reason why we were doing this integer conversion right here. So next, and n1 and n2 is 10 and 5, and you see, so 10 and 5, n1 and n2, and since operation is add, it went to here and it printed the result. Okay, so in the console here you have the result. So this is how you debug your command line argument program using pycharm. Okay friends, that was all about argument parsing. I hope this was useful. Remember, argparse is a most common way of parsing arguments. There are other ways, but I recommend using this way. Okay, thanks for watching.